In the dark of space, the Nexus trade station looked like a huge metal wheel slowly spinning around a moon that no one had bothered to name. The station was old, built about 50 years ago when this area first opened up for business. The metal walls were dirty and rusty. Sometimes the lights would flicker. The air recyclers made weird groaning noises. But it did what it was supposed to do. Thousands of beings passed through the Nexus every day. It was at the intersection of 3 major trade routes, so it was like a crossroads. You had to go through Nexus Station to move goods between the inner colonies and the outer rim. There were always a lot of people in the main concourse. Tall Vorlex traders with green skin and 4 arms were arguing over the prices of rare spices. Short, furry Kasari merchants pushing carts full of electronics. People in business suits talking on phones. Threx, who looked like bugs, clicked and chattered in their own language while looking at bolts of fabric. The noise never stopped. Hundreds of voices in many different languages, all mixed together. The smell was too strong as well. There are so many different kinds, and each one has its own smell. The air filters at the station did their best, but they couldn't keep up. In the busy market area, sellers had everything you could think of for sale. Food that is fresh from a dozen worlds. Clothes. Technology. Art. Health. Weapons, but they had to be kept in sealed cases because of station rules. If you looked hard enough and had enough credits, you could find almost anything at Nexus. But things got quieter if you left the main concourse and walked down the smaller hallways toward the back of the station. More dark. Not as well cared for. These were the service areas where the station workers worked to keep everything running. Where the huge trash disposal units worked hard to sort through and process trash from thousands of people who came every day. Where the systems for recycling water made noise. People who didn't work here didn't come to this part of the station very often. There was nothing to look at. No items for sale. There were only machines and hallways that smelled a little bit like chemicals and metal. She sat in one of these long-forgotten places. A small person was pressed against the wall in a dark corner between 2 trash cans. She was very small, maybe 3.5 feet tall. It was hard to tell because she was so dirty and covered in dirt, but her skin was a pale blue color. Her eyes were very big, much bigger than human eyes, and they took up a lot of space on her face. They used to be a deep purple color. Now they seemed empty and dull. She was a child of Lyran. The Lyrans were a peaceful species from the inner colonies. They were known for being kind and good at art. They weren't soldiers, traders, or explorers. They were poets, painters, and musicians. It was hard to tell with alien species, but this Lyran child looked to be about 7 years old. She wore what used to be a simple dress, probably light blue to match her skin. Now it was ripped and stained so badly that it was hard to tell what it was. Her small feet were not covered. Every bone in her arms and legs was visible because they were so thin. She pulled her knees up to her chest and wrapped her arms around them to make herself as small as possible, trying to blend in with the darkness. She was breathing in a shallow and ragged way. Her whole body shook, but it was impossible to tell if it was because she was cold, hungry, or scared. Most likely all 3. The kid had been sitting there for 3 weeks. 21 days of pain and slow starvation. She had gotten used to the station's rhythms. She knew when the trash cans would empty, making noise and a mess, so she could go through the trash without being seen. She knew where a pipe leaked clean water, so she could drink without having to go into places where people might see her and chase her away. She knew that a cleaning crew would come through around noon, so she had to hide deeper in the shadows, or they might tell security about her. She knew that the hallways were empty late at night, and she could move around more freely, but there wasn't much to find in the dark. People walked by her hiding place every day. A few, but not many. Workers at the station going to and from their shifts. Maintenance crews are checking the systems. Security guards are on duty. They saw her. She knew they did. She would watch them go by with her big purple eyes. Would see them look at her for a second. A small, dirty, hungry child was hiding in the shadows. And every time they would look away, would keep going, would act like they hadn't seen anything. The child had tried to get help at first. In those early days, when she still had some strength and hope, She would reach out with a small hand to people who were walking by. Would say, please, in a voice that was barely above a whisper. They would pull away from her touch like she had a disease. Would go faster. One man had kicked her, but not hard enough to hurt her. It was just hard enough to get her attention. Don't come near. Don't touch me. You are not my problem. She gave up after a week. Stop getting in touch. Stop talking. What was the point? She lived on trash. People would throw away food that was only half-eaten, and she would dig it out and eat it, no matter what it was or how it tasted. A core of an apple with a few bites of fruit left. Crusts of bread. Meat that had gone bad, but was still safe to eat if you really needed to. She was in a lot of trouble. The leaking pipe's water tasted wrong and metallic, but it kept her alive. Not much. She slept on the hard metal floor, curled up. There weren't any blankets. No comfort. Just metal that was cold against her skin. She would shiver all night and never really sleep. She would just drift in and out of consciousness. The kid didn't cry. The first few days she cried all her tears. Had cried for her dead parents. Had cried out in pain, fear, and loneliness. But no one came. No one cared. And in the end, she ran out of tears to cry. She just sat there now. Waited. She didn't know why. Maybe for death. Maybe for no reason at all. Time had no meaning anymore. She couldn't remember her name anymore. Did not remember what it felt like to be safe, warm, or full. This dark corner was her whole world now. This life of being cold, hungry, and hopeless. A person walked by on the 21st day. He was just a regular guy, nothing special about him. It could be 35 years old. He was dressed like a cargo loader, with dark blue coveralls that were dirty and greasy from hard work. His face was old and worn, with lines around his eyes from years of squinting at bright lights. His hands were rough and had calluses on them. His boots were old and worn out. He worked on the loading docks on Sublevel 3, and his name was Ben. 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week, loading and unloading cargo containers from ships that came to the station. It was hard, physical work that didn't pay enough to cover rent on a small apartment and food. Ben had been working at Nexus Station for 4 years. He worked hard, went home, slept, and came back the next day to do it all over again. He had learned not to ask too many things. Don't get involved in other people's affairs. There could be a lot of trouble at this station, and the best way to avoid it was to keep quiet. He was tired and looking forward to getting home to his small apartment and taking a hot shower after his shift. He had his lunchbox in one hand, but it was empty now. As usual, he ate everything during his break. Ben was going through the maintenance corridors to get to his destination faster. A lot of workers did. It cut the walk to the residential area by 5 minutes, which was a big deal when you were this tired. He wasn't paying much attention to what was going on around him. He had walked this way 100 times. He was just thinking about taking a shower and maybe watching something on his video screen before going to bed. Then he saw her. At first, his brain didn't get it right away. It was just a small shape in the dark near the trash bins. It was probably trash, tools, or something else. But then the shape changed a little, and Ben's tired brain understood what he was seeing. A kid. A little kid with blue skin was huddled against the wall, shivering, looking at him with big, scared eyes. Ben stopped moving. He stood there for a long time, just staring at her. At how skinny she was. How dirty it is. At how empty those big purple eyes were. He felt like he should keep walking. This wasn't his problem. He had his own problems. He has to pay his own bills. Getting involved would only make things worse. He thought about all the people who must have passed by this child. A lot of them. Perhaps hundreds. They all kept going. Everyone had agreed that it wasn't their problem. Ben moved forward. Then one more. He walked over to where the child was sitting and slowly knelt down in front of her. "Hey there," he said softly, keeping his voice calm and friendly. "Are you okay, kid?" The kid just looked at him. Did not move. Didn't say anything. It broke his heart to see how empty her eyes were. Ben took a closer look at her now. Saw how her skin showed her bones. Saw how she shook. Saw the dirt and grime all over her. "When was the last time you ate?" he asked, even though he was pretty sure he already knew the answer. The kid still didn't say anything. She just watched him, as if she thought he would hurt her or chase her away. Ben put down his empty lunchbox and opened the front pocket. He always kept a granola bar there in case of an emergency. Something small to eat if he got hungry between meals. He took it out and slowly unwrapped it so she wouldn't be scared. After that, he gave it to the child. "Here," he said. "Take it. It's fine." The kid stared at the granola bar, then at Ben. Then they went back to the bar. With a shaky hand, she reached out and took it from him. She put it in her mouth and bit it. And then another. Then she ate it as fast as she could, almost choking on it. "Easy," Ben said. "Take it easy. You'll get sick." But she couldn't stop. She quickly finished the granola bar and then looked at Ben with those big eyes, asking for more without saying a word. Ben's heart was breaking. He grabbed the water bottle that was on his belt. "Here, drink this." The child drank from the bottle in big gulps, and water ran down her chin. She drank it all. She looked at Ben again when she was done. And for the first time in 3 weeks, she said something. "Thanks," she said softly. It sounded like she hadn't used her voice in a long time. Ben felt something break inside of him. Something that had been hard and closed off. He looked at the small, sick child and made a choice. "Come on," he said as he stood up. "Come with me." The kid blinked in shock. It was like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Ben put his hand out. "I'm not going to leave you here." The child took his hand after a long time. She had a weak but trusting grip. In that moment, Ben knew that his life would never be the same again. With the little blue child holding his hand, Ben walked through the station's hallways. As they walked by, people looked at them. Some people were curious, some with disgust. Some people just turned away quickly, because they didn't want to get involved. The girl walked slowly, and the metal floor made soft sounds as her bare feet hit it. Ben had to stop a few times to let her rest because she was so weak. He would kneel down and check on her every time he stopped. "Are you okay?" he would ask. She would nod, but Ben could tell that it was hard for her to keep walking. Every step made her legs shake. She was having trouble breathing. This kid needed to see a doctor right away. The main business district not far from the central hub was where the Nexus Station Medical Center was. It was a big place that served the thousands of people who came every day and the people who lived there full-time. The walls were clean and white, and the lights were bright, which made them seem harsh after the dark maintenance corridors. Ben pushed through the automatic doors while still holding the child's hand. There were a lot of people in the waiting area. A Vorlex merchant sat with his arm in a bandage. A woman rocked a baby who was crying. 2 Threx workers sat in the corner, their faces looking like bugs. Ben went up to the front desk. There was a tall, thin alien with gray skin and 3 eyes behind it. The receptionist was typing something on a computer screen and didn't look up right away. "Excuse me," Ben said. "I need help. Now is the time for this child to see a doctor." Finally, the receptionist looked up. All 3 of its eyes were on the little blue child next to Ben. The receptionist's face changed to look like she was disgusted. The receptionist said in a cold, robotic voice, "What is that?" through the translation device. Ben's jaw felt tight. That is a kid. A kid who needs to see a doctor. The receptionist looked the child up and down. "She is dirty. And she looks like a homeless person. We don't help people in need here." Ben said, "She's not a charity case," trying to keep his voice calm. "She is a sick child who needs help." The receptionist asked, "Does she have health insurance?" Even though she already knew the answer. "No, but then she has to pay in full. The test costs 200 credits. More if treatment is needed." Ben's stomach dropped. 200 credits. He had about 30 credits in his account until the next payday, which was 5 days away. She doesn't have any cash. She's a kid. For weeks, she's been living on the streets. She needs help right away because she's sick and starving. The look on the receptionist's face didn't change. The rules at the station are very clear. No service without payment. She needs to leave if she can't pay. "Are you kidding me right now?" Ben's voice was getting louder. He could tell that other people in the waiting room were starting to look at him. She's 7 years old.
She is going to die.
Are you going to turn away a dying child because she doesn't have any money? The receptionist said in the same cold, robotic voice. I don't make the rules. I just make sure they are followed. Now, please get her out of here before I call security. Ben felt like a fire was burning inside of him. He wanted to reach across the desk and shake this cold-blooded thing until it showed some sign of kindness. He wanted to scream, to ask for, to help this receptionist realize that there was a sick child right in front of them. But he looked down at the girl, Maya, standing there so still and quiet. Those big purple eyes looking up at him. She had heard it all. Had heard people call her that and it. Had heard that she was being turned away.
And she didn't seem surprised.
She seemed to have been expecting this. Like this was just how things worked. Ben took a big breath. Maya would not benefit from getting into a fight here. It would only get him arrested and leave her alone again. He said softly to the child, Come on, sweetheart. We're going. He took her back outside of the medical center. He heard the receptionist start typing again behind them, forgetting they were there. Ben stood in the hallway for a moment, lost in thought. Maya needed to see a doctor. She probably needed food, rest, and medicine. But he didn't have any money and couldn't get it quickly. Then he made a choice. He would bring her back to his place. He would do what he could on his own. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than nothing. Ben lived on level 7 in the residential area. One of the least expensive units on the station was this one. It's only one room, which is about 15 feet by 15 feet. There was a small kitchen area in one corner with a hot plate and a small fridge. A small bathroom with a shower, toilet, and sink. A bed that came down from the wall. That was all. But it was home. It was safe, warm, and dry. Ben opened the door and let Maya in. She was in the middle of the room, looking around with big eyes. She looked like she couldn't believe she was in a real home. Okay, Ben said, trying to figure out where to begin. First things first, you need to take a shower. You have to wash up. He went to the bathroom and turned on the water, changing the temperature until it was warm but not too hot. Then he went back outside. The shower is ready. Do you know how to use it? Maya nodded without saying a word. Okay. In there is soap and shampoo. Use as much as you need to. I'll get you some clothes. Ben went through his clothes while Maya was in the shower. Everything he had was way too big for a child his age. But he found an old shirt that would work as a dress for her. That would have to do for now. After about 10 minutes, he heard the shower turn off. Maya came out of the bathroom a few minutes later. His towel was too big for her and was dragging on the floor. Ben could see how pale she really was now that her blue skin was clean. Instead of the darker blue color that Lyrans usually have, this one was almost white blue. A sign that you aren't getting enough food. Ben gave her the shirt and turned around while she put it on. When he turned around, she was still there in his shirt, which went down to her knees. She looked small and weak. Ben asked, Are you hungry? Maya nodded her head. Ben went to the kitchen. He didn't have much. He had to be careful with his money. But he did have some rice, canned vegetables, and eggs. He made a simple fried rice by cooking everything together. It wasn't fancy, but it was hot and filling. He put a plate in front of Maya and watched as she picked up the fork. This time she ate slowly, like he had told her to do. But he could tell that she was really hungry and that it was hard for her to eat slowly. Ben made her bed while she ate. New sheets. His pillow. The blanket he had that was thin. He said, You can sleep here. I'll sleep on the floor. Maya stopped eating and looked up. Where will you sleep? I have some blankets I can use.
Don't worry about me.
Ben could tell that Maya was very tired after she ate. Her eyelids were heavy. Her small body was moving back and forth. Come on, he said softly. Time to go to bed. Maya got into bed. It was the first real bed she had slept in 3 weeks. The sheets were smooth. The pillow felt good. She closed her eyes and curled up into a small ball. Ben pulled the blanket up over her. Get some sleep, okay? You're safe now. Maya's eyes opened a little. She whispered, What is your name? I'm Ben. I am Maya. Nice to meet you, Maya. With those big purple eyes, She looked at him. Why are you helping me? Ben sat down on the bed's edge. He thought about the question. What made him want to help her? Everyone else had already gone by. Everyone else had made up their minds that she wasn't their problem. Because you needed help, he said simply. And because it's the right thing to do. But I'm not a person, Maya said. I'm not like you. Ben said, you're a kid. That's all that matters. Maya looked at him for a long time. Then a single tear fell down her blue cheek. Thanks, she said softly. Ben's own eyes were getting wet. He reached out and softly patted her on the shoulder. Get some sleep. Everything will be fine. Maya closed her eyes and fell asleep in a matter of minutes. Ben sat there for a while, just watching her sleep. This little, weak child who had been through so much. Ben did his best to take care of Maya over the next few days. He went to work every day and came home during his lunch break to see how she was doing. He spent his money on food to buy things for her. Real food. A pair of shoes that are cheap and kind of fit. A jacket because she was always cold. His co-workers saw that something was off. Ben would sometimes eat lunch with them. Now he was always in a hurry. He seemed more tired than usual. He gave vague answers when they asked him what was going on. Then one of them saw him at the market buying clothes for kids. People on a space station spread news quickly. By the end of the week, everyone in the cargo loading department knew that Ben had taken in a kid from another planet. People had different reactions. A few people thought it was nice of him. A lot of people thought he was crazy. His boss told him, "You're wasting your time and money. That's not your problem. Just tell station security about her and let them handle it." Ben said firmly, "I'm not doing that." "Why not? You don't have to take care of her. She is now." His boss shook his head. "You'll wish you hadn't done this. Listen to me." But Ben didn't feel bad about it. He knew he was doing the right thing when he came home every day and saw Maya's face light up, heard her say, "You're back," in that small voice, and saw her slowly start to smile. His boss called him into the office on the 5th day. The boss was a big man with a permanent frown. The boss said, "I've heard things about you. Things about you hiding an illegal vagrant." Ben said, "She's not illegal. She is a refugee. A kid whose family died. Does she have proof? Proof of who you are? What is the legal status of this station?" Ben thought for a moment. "No, but..." "Then she's not legal. It's clear what the station rules are. You should either report her or get rid of her. I'll have to let you go if you don't." Ben's heart sank. He could barely afford to live on this job, but it was all he had. He couldn't pay for his apartment without it. Couldn't get food. Couldn't look after Maya. But if he told station security about Maya, they would put her in a detention center. Act like she's a criminal. It might be best to send her back to a Lyran world where she didn't know anyone. Where she would be by herself again. Ben got up. "Then I guess you have to let me go." His boss blinked in shock. "You're picking that alien kid over your job?" "Yes," Ben said without any more. "I am." "You're making a big mistake." "Maybe," Ben said. "But it's my fault." He left the office with his heart racing. He had just left his job. Had just thrown away the only thing that made him money. For a kid he had only known for less than a week. People thought he was crazy. He might have been. But when he got home and Maya ran to hug him, Ben knew he had made the right choice. She smiled up at him with love and trust. No matter what happened next, they would face it together. Ben didn't know it at the time, but someone was watching him that day at the hospital. Someone with an optical implant that had a camera built into it was recording everything they saw. The person was a Kasari reporter who worked for one of the smaller galactic news networks. She was at the medical center covering a different story when she saw Ben walk in with a filthy blue child. She had seen the fight with the receptionist, had written down every word. Then she quietly followed Ben through the station, wanting to know what would happen next. She saw him buy food with what looked like his last few credits. Filmed him taking the kid to his apartment. He carried her when she got too tired to walk, and he recorded it. The journalist put the video on the Galactic Network with a simple title, "One Person's Choice." He stopped while thousands of people walked by. At first, only a few hundred people watched the video. Just one more story in the never-ending stream of information that flows through the network every second. But then someone passed it on. Then another person. Then it began to spread. The video had 1 million views in less than 12 hours. It had 100 million views in less than a day. By the end of the third day, more than 3 billion people from dozens of worlds had seen it. The video showed it all. Maya was huddled in that dark corner, barely alive. The many people who walked by her without stopping. Ben saw her and knelt down, giving her food and drink. The medical center told them to go away. Ben spent his last bit of money on food and clothes for her. There were a lot of comments. Thousands of comments in hundreds of languages come in every minute, and the network's AI automatically translates them all. A lot of the comments were mean. People are so emotional and illogical. He quit his job for an alien he didn't even know? Stupid. This is why people are weak. They spend money on causes that don't matter. Someone should have told the police about that child. He's not following the rules at the station. That's just how people are. Doing things based on emotions instead of reason. But other comments were not the same. They asked questions that made them feel bad. Why didn't anyone else help her? She was there for 3 weeks.
How many people went by her?
I walk through that hallway now, and then. Did I see her? Did I also ignore her? What does it say about our society that one person was more caring than thousands of us? We're supposed to be civilized beings. But we let a child go hungry while we walked home to our nice homes. The argument spread like wildfire across the galaxy. The story was picked up by news shows. It was talked about on talk shows. There were a lot of opinions on social media sites. Some people stood up for the people who had walked past Maya. They don't have to do it. The station can help with this. Why should people get involved? Some people were embarrassed. I've seen homeless people before. I told myself that it wasn't my problem. I realized how wrong that is after watching this video. 3 days after it was first posted, the video made it to the Lyran homeworld. The Lyrans were a race that cared about art, beauty, and emotional connection. People all over the galaxy knew them for their kindness and understanding. When Lyran government officials saw one of their kids sitting in filth and hunger while beings of all kinds walked by, they were speechless with horror. People had to meet in an emergency. The Lyran Council of Elders got together to watch the movie. A lot of them cried openly, which wasn't seen as shameful in Lyran culture. The Lyran representative to the Galactic Council, Ambassador Thela, made a statement right away. As she talked to the cameras, her voice shook with emotion. We are heartbroken, embarrassed, horrified. We didn't know that one of our kids was in pain. Did not find her. Did not keep her safe. Tears filled Thela's big eyes. We can't thank the human Ben enough for being nice when so many others, including our own systems, weren't. The Lyran government got ready to fight within hours. They sent a diplomatic ship to Nexus Station. This was a sleek ship that usually carried ambassadors and other high-ranking officials. It went faster than ever before, pushing its engines to the limit. Ben didn't know any of this was going on. He was too busy trying to figure out how to live without a job. He had enough money saved up for about 2 weeks. He wouldn't be able to pay rent after that.
Could not buy food.
He was looking through job ads on his computer screen, hoping to find something that would hire him right away. Maya was sitting on the bed behind him, drawing on a piece of paper he had given her. She drew simple pictures with an old pen. A home.
A bloom.
2 stick figures are holding hands. Someone knocked on the door. Ben wasn't expecting anyone to come. He carefully opened it. There were 6 Lyran officials in the hallway. They wore deep blue and silver formal robes, which are traditional for their kind. They looked very serious and sad. Ben's heart sank. He knew right away why they had come. They had come for Maya. They had somehow learned about her. Are you the real Ben? The main official asked. He was called Counselor Varen on his name tag. Yes, Ben said, already standing in the doorway to block their view of the room. What do you want? Varen said, we have come for the child Maya. We know she's here with you. Ben said right away, you're not taking her. He spoke with confidence, but his hands were shaking. Please understand that we are her people. She is Lyran. She is one of us. Her people. Ben felt his anger growing. Her people let her die. She sat in a hallway for 3 weeks. Hungry. It's freezing. By herself. And where were you? Where was your government? Where were her people then? The Lyran officials looked like they were in pain. Counselor Varen's big eyes were sad. You have every right to be angry. We let her down. Our systems let her down. We are very sorry for that. Ben said. Sorry doesn't help her. Sorry doesn't feed her, keep her warm, or make her feel safe. I did that.
Me.
One person who actually looked at her instead of just walking by. Maya had heard the sounds. She came to the door and looked around Ben's legs. She held Ben's hand tightly when she saw the Lyran officials. When Counselor Varen saw her, his face changed. He got down on one knee, which made him shorter and less scary. Hey there, little one. My name is Varen. We've been looking for you. Maya pushed herself against Ben's leg. She said softly, I don't want to go. We are your people, Varen said softly. We want to help you. Give you a nice place to live. You belong with other Lyrans. No, Maya said, her voice small but sure. I want to be with Ben. He's part of my family now. The people in charge of the Lyran looked at each other. One of them, a woman with kind eyes, came forward. Child, he is not Lyran. He can't understand what you need. Your way of life. How to properly raise you. Maya said, he already took care of me. He gave me food when I was hungry. He kept me warm. He made me feel safe. That's what families do. Ben's throat felt tight. He looked down at Maya, this little blue girl who had become so important to him in such a short time. Counselor Varen got back up. He gave Ben a look that was hard to read. You care about her? Yes, Ben said simply. Even though she isn't a person. Not your kind. She's just a kid. That's all that counts. For a long time, Varen was quiet. Then he slowly nodded. Okay. We won't make the child leave if she wants to stay with you. Ben felt better right away. Thanks. But, Varen said, we can't just leave. She is still Lyran. Her people still need to support her. We insist on helping. What kind of help? Ben asked carefully. A younger official than Varen stepped forward with a tablet. We have already set up a fund to help pay for Maya's care. Costs of medical care. Schooling.
Food. Clothes.
Anything she wants. It will be put into an account in your name. Ben said. I don't want your charity. Varen said firmly. It is not charity. We are responsible for it. Our duty to one of our own. We let her down once. We won't let her down again. The young official kept reading from his tablet. We would also like to offer you a job as a cultural liaison, helping people and Lyrans understand each other better. The job pays a lot and comes with a housing allowance. Ben blinked. Are you giving me a job? You have shown us qualities that we value very highly, Varen said. Kindness, bravery, the ability to do the right thing no matter what it costs you. We would be happy to work with you. Ben didn't know what to say. He had been out of work and almost broke an hour ago. The Lyran government was now offering him a job and money to look after Maya. But more importantly, Varen went on, we are starting an investigation. We need to know how Maya got left behind on this station. How our systems broke down so badly that a child could be lost and forgotten. Lyran investigators looked through records and talked to people over the next few days. What they found was very upsetting. Pirates had killed Maya's parents when they attacked a transport ship. Along with other survivors, she had been taken to Nexus Station. But a clerk had made a mistake while processing refugees in the midst of all the chaos and confusion. Had accidentally removed Maya's file from the system. In the eyes of the law, she did not exist. There was no record of her. No identity in the system. No one was looking for her because the system said she wasn't there. This child had been missing for 3 weeks. Not because people couldn't see her, but because the system said she wasn't there. People thought someone else would take care of it when they saw her. Someone else would look after her. Someone else would care. But no one did. Until Ben came along. The investigation found that in the past 5 years, system errors had caused the loss of 17 other children in the same way. Most of them were found eventually, but 3 of them had died. They died alone and were forgotten because of mistakes made by the government. The scandal shook up the Lyran government. People in charge quit. There were new rules put in place. The whole system for processing refugees was changed. And it all happened because one person stopped to help a hungry child while thousands of others walked by. Now the story spread even more. The Lyran government's answer made news all over the galaxy. Other kinds of life started looking at their own systems. How many kids had they lost? How many beings had slipped through the cracks? Ben watched all of this on the news, still a little shocked. He had only wanted to help a kid who was hungry. He didn't mean to start a galaxy-wide search for truth. Maya sat next to him on the couch and ate a real meal. She was starting to put on weight. Her skin was turning a darker blue, which is a better color. She smiled every now and then now. "Ben," she said. "Yeah. Are you my dad now?" Ben could feel his eyes getting wet. He wrapped his arm around her small shoulders. "Yes, kiddo. I guess I am." Maya leaned against him, feeling safe and happy. Ben realized that losing his job was the best thing that had ever happened to him, because it brought him to her. For this little blue child who needed someone to care. Taking care of her had given his life a purpose he didn't know he needed. The galaxy could talk about, argue about, and think about things. But Ben knew the truth was easy. A kid needed help. And he had helped. That was it. The video of Ben and Maya didn't just go viral and then fade away like most things on the internet.
It kept going around. People kept sharing it. People kept talking about it.
People couldn't ignore it because it made them feel bad. Other stories started to come out within a week. Stories that had been hidden before, but now were very important. A reporter from Threx looked into the colony world of Kasara Prime. She found 23 kids who had lost their parents living in the sewers under the capital city. 23 kids who lived by stealing food and sleeping in sewer pipes. People knew there were kids there, but they chose to ignore them. The headline of the story was, "If it happened on Nexus, it's happening here too." A human reporter on Earth Station 7 found 15 alien refugee kids living in an empty warehouse. They had been there for a long time. Security guards knew about them, but didn't tell anyone because it wasn't their job. Activists found out that the government-run orphanages on the Vorlex homeworld were so poorly funded that the kids only got 1 meal a day. Sometimes not as much. The facilities were too full, not enough staff, and falling apart. Telling stories over and over. One world after another. The same thing happens everywhere. Children who have been forgotten. Pain was ignored. Systems that let the most vulnerable people down. And everyone was asking the same thing. If a person with no money and no power could help one child, what was everyone else's excuse? The Galactic Council held an emergency meeting. In the huge council chamber on the neutral station of Concordia, representatives from 200 different species met. The session was shown live all over the galaxy. The argument went on for 3 days. Some representatives said that it was not the council's job to take care of orphans, but rather the job of individual worlds. Some people said that this was a moral crisis that needed to be dealt with right away. On the 3rd day, a vote was finally called. The measure passed with a huge majority. The law was officially called the Child Welfare Protection Act, but everyone called it something else. Maya's Law. The law was easy to understand but covered a lot of ground. Every space station, colony, and settlement with more than 5,000 people had to set up a system to protect children. Any child who needed it had to have food, shelter, and medical care. No questions asked. No need to pay. If stations didn't follow the rules, they would lose their galactic trading licenses. Worlds that didn't follow the law would have to pay fines. The punishments were so harsh that even the most unwilling governments had to follow them. Help centers began to open all over the galaxy within 6 months. At first, they were simple. Just basic buildings with beds, food, and someone to watch over them. But they were there. They were real. And kids who would have died in the streets or in the sewers now had a place to go. Groups of volunteers came together. People who had walked by people in need before now actively looked for them. They called themselves Maya's Angels. People who volunteered to walk around the dark corners of train stations looking for lost kids. A big help center opened on Nexus Station just 2 months after Maya's law went into effect. It was built in the business district so that everyone could see it. The building was well lit and had friendly doors. There were beds for 50 kids, a cafeteria, a medical clinic, and classrooms inside. The words, "Every child matters," were carved into the metal above the door. Every child needs help. Ben and Maya went to the ceremony to open it. They stood in the back and tried not to be seen. But people knew who they were. Sharp, said in a whisper. A few people tried to get close to ask for autographs or pictures. Ben quickly grabbed Maya's hand and led her out the side door. He had never wanted to be famous. Never wanted to be noticed. All he wanted was for Maya to have a normal life. But they weren't going to get normal. News crews came to Ben's new apartment all the time. His building had to hire extra security to keep reporters from sleeping in the lobby. Every day, news networks from all over the galaxy asked for interviews. Ben turned them all down. All of them. One persistent reporter asked Ben, "Why won't you talk to us?" as he was coming home from work. "People want to know what happened to you." Ben said firmly, "This isn't about me. This is for Maya. About all the Mayans out there. The kids who need help. People should pay attention to that." "But you're a hero," the reporter kept saying. Ben said, "I'm not a hero. I'm just a guy who did what he was supposed to do. Please leave us alone now." He went inside and shut the door. Maya was doing her homework in the kitchen. 3 weeks ago, she started school at a good private academy that the Lyran government paid for. She was quickly catching up after missing so much school. Maya asked, "Was it reporters again?" without looking up from her math problems. "Yes," Ben said with a sigh as he sat down at the table. Maya said, "They won't leave us alone." She didn't sound angry, just saying something true. "I know, kiddo."
I'm sorry.
Maya put her pen down and looked at Ben. "It's fine. I understand why they care. You did something special." "I didn't do anything out of the ordinary," Maya said in a serious tone. "Yes, you did." She was staring at his face with her big purple eyes. "You saw me. You looked when everyone else turned their back. You thought of me as a person. Because I was important. That's unique." Ben's throat started to feel tight. "You do matter. You always mattered. Even when other people didn't see it." Maya got up and gave him a hug. "I know."
Because you showed me.
Even though Ben didn't want to talk to the media, his life was changing in other ways. The job the Lyran government gave him turned out to be important work. He helped make it possible for people and Lyrans to exchange cultures. Helped not only translate language but also understanding between the two species. He did a good job. Thessa, his boss and a nice Lyran woman, told him that he was good at seeing past differences to find common ground. During his 3-month review, Thessa said, "You know something that a lot of people don't. That kindness is for everyone. That kindness can be understood by all animals. You do it every day with Maya." Ben and Maya had gotten used to their new lives. He would wake her up for school, prepare breakfast for her, take her to the bus or train that took her to the academy, get her in the afternoon, help with schoolwork,
Cook dinner.
spend time together at night talking, watching videos, or just being together. It was normal. Normal. What Ben wanted exactly. But not everyone agreed with what Ben did. There was a small but loud group of people who thought Ben had betrayed his own kind. They called themselves Humanity First and wrote angry messages on the network. He chose an alien over someone like him. Instead, he should have helped a child. This is how our kind becomes weak. Spending money on aliens. Ben is a traitor to all people. The messages were hateful and ugly. Most people thought they were just fringe extremists. Some people, though, believed it. Sometimes Ben got threatening messages. A few were serious enough for station security to get involved. One day, a person came up to Ben in the market. The man was about 50 years old, overweight, and had angry eyes. The man yelled, "You should be ashamed." People stopped to look. Letting an alien in while human kids go hungry. Ben spoke in a calm voice. "There are also programs for kids. I agree with them. You chose an alien over your own kind. I picked a hungry child over doing nothing, Ben said. Her kind didn't matter. It was her pain that mattered. You're a traitor. Ben said simply, I'm a father. And I'm done talking.
He left.
Ben didn't pay attention to the man who kept yelling. He had learned that some people would never get it. That was their problem, not his. But most people liked it. People would stop Ben on the street to thank him, who told him that his story had moved them to adopt, volunteer, or give money. One day, an old Vorlex woman stopped him. She said in a strong accent, My son saw your video. He went to help out at a children's home. This is the first time he has ever volunteered for anything. You changed him. At the market, a young couple came up to him. The woman said, We were thinking about adopting. We didn't know, but seeing you and Maya gave us strength. Next month, we're going to adopt 2 Kesari siblings. Ben didn't like stories like that because he still didn't see himself as having done anything special. But they also taught him that actions have effects that you can't always see. The government of Lyran wanted to give Ben medals. The Council of Elders wanted to honor him with a ceremony on the Lyran homeworld. Ben said no politely but firmly. During a video call, he told Counselor Varen, I appreciate the thought. But I don't want any medals. I don't want awards. I just want to raise Maya in peace. You are too humble, Varen said. You should be recognized for what you did. Ben said, I saw a child who needed help and helped her. That shouldn't be unusual. That should be the norm. If you want to honor me, make sure your systems never lose another child. That's the kind of recognition I want. There was a moment of silence from Varen. After that, he nodded. You are smarter than your age would suggest. It will happen. The Lyran government did what it said it would do. They put in place new systems with a lot of backups. 3 different databases kept track of a child if they came into their care. Checks every week were required. If there was any doubt about a child's status, investigators were sent right away. Other governments saw what the Lyrans did and did the same thing. Systems across the galaxy got better, but it took a long time and was painful. But the biggest change was in the culture. People started to think differently about who should help after hearing Ben's story.
It wasn't just the government's job.
Not just help with social issues. Everyone had a part to play. You helped when you saw someone in pain. You didn't walk by. You didn't think someone else would take care of it. You stopped. You did something. Be like Ben became a common phrase. A short way to say that you should do the right thing even when it's hard. Maya did well in her new life. She was a smart student, especially good at math and art. She was good at making friends. Other kids thought it was cool that her dad was that person from the video. Maya was excited to come home from school 6 months after Ben found her. Papa.
Dad.
Guess what? Ben smiled at how excited she was. When she was really happy about something, she only called him Papa. What's wrong, kiddo? My teacher told me I'm the best in math in my class. And my art project won the school contest. That's incredible. Ben picked her up and spun her around. She laughed. Maya looked up at him with those big eyes when he put her down. Papa, can I talk to you? Of course. Can we make it official? What about the adoption? I really want to be your daughter. Not just being with you. Ben could feel his eyes getting wet. I'd like that too. The process of adopting was surprisingly easy. The Lyran government had already checked everything out. Within a week, they agreed to the adoption. The event was small. There were only Ben, Maya, Counselor Varen from the Lyran government, and a judge. It wasn't in a courtroom. It was in the judge's chambers. Easy and casual. Maya hugged Ben so tightly that he could hardly breathe when it was all over and the papers were signed. She whispered, I'm yours now. Really yours? Ben whispered back. You were always mine. From the first time I saw you. Ben changed Maya's official papers that night. Now, her full name was Maya Chen. She had his last name. She was his daughter, in every way that counted. They had ice cream and a movie to celebrate. Not much. A normal night for a father and daughter. And that was exactly what Ben wanted. Normal. A calm life. But the galaxy made sure that his story lived on. Because what Ben did was important. It showed that one person could change things. That kindness didn't mean being weak. That the right choice was often the hardest one, but it was still worth it. Schools all over the galaxy would teach about Maya's law years later. Would show the video of Ben finding Maya. Would talk about what it meant to be responsible for other people. And kids all over the world learned a simple lesson. If you see someone who needs help, you help them. Because that's what good people do. Ben did that. And it made the galaxy better. 5 years changed everything and nothing at the same time. Maya was 12 years old now. She had grown taller, though she was still small for her age. Her pale blue skin had deepened to a healthier shade. Her large purple eyes were bright and alert, no longer dull with hunger and despair. Her body had filled out properly with regular meals and good medical care. She attended the Concordia Academy, one of the best schools on Nexus Station. The Lyran government paid her tuition, but Maya had earned her place there through hard work and intelligence. She was consistently at the top of her class in mathematics and biology. She had friends from half a dozen different species. Human kids, Vorlex kids, Kasari, even a Threk student who was notoriously difficult to befriend. Maya's bedroom wall was covered with certificates and awards. Academic achievements. Art competitions. A citizenship award for volunteering at the local help center every weekend. Ben had offered to put them in frames, but Maya liked them just pinned to the wall. She said it felt more real that way. She lived in a comfortable apartment with Ben, not the tiny one-room place where he had first brought her. The Lyran government had provided a larger unit with 2 bedrooms, a proper kitchen, a living room with big windows that looked out at the stars. It was more space than Ben had ever imagined having. But despite all the changes, despite the comfort and security, Maya had not forgotten. She remembered those 3 weeks in the dark corner. The cold, the hunger, the fear, the feeling of being invisible while hundreds of people walked past. She had nightmares sometimes. Would wake up crying, convinced she was back in that alley. Ben would come into her room and hold her until she calmed down, reminding her that she was safe, that she was home, that he would never let anyone hurt her. "I'm sorry," Maya would say, embarrassed by her tears. "Don't be sorry," Ben would tell her. "What you went through was traumatic. It's okay to still feel it sometimes. Does it ever go away?" "I don't know," Ben said honestly. "But it gets easier. And you're so much stronger than you think." Ben's life had changed too. His work as a cultural liaison had evolved into something bigger. He now directed the Interspecies Children's Advocacy Network, an organization that worked to protect vulnerable children across the galaxy. He traveled sometimes, giving talks, advising governments, helping set up new programs. But he never traveled for more than a few days at a time. He always came home to Maya. That was his priority. His daughter came first, always. People still recognized him sometimes. Still wanted to talk about what he had done 5 years ago. Ben was always polite but brief. He did not like the attention. Did not think he deserved it. One Saturday morning, Ben suggested they visit Nexus Station's commercial district. Do some shopping, maybe catch a movie. Maya agreed, but as they walked through the familiar corridors, she slowed down. "Papa," she said quietly, "can we go to the other part of the station? The service corridors?" Ben understood immediately. "Are you sure?" Maya nodded. "I want to see it. I think I need to." They walked together through the busy markets, past the shops and restaurants, down into the less traveled areas of the station. The corridors got dimmer, quieter. The air smelled of recycled water and industrial cleaners. Maya's hand gripped Ben's tighter as they walked. Her breathing got faster. Ben could see she was struggling, facing this place that held such terrible memories. Then they turned a corner, and Maya stopped completely. The dark alcove where she had huddled for 3 weeks was gone. In its place was a building. A real building with clean walls and bright lights and wide-open doors. Above the entrance was a metal plaque that read, "Maya's Haven. Because every child matters." Maya stared at it with tears in her eyes. "They named it after me?" "They did," Ben said softly. "This whole building exists because of you. Because your story made people realize things had to change. They walked inside together. The interior was warm and welcoming. To the left was a cafeteria where children of various species were eating lunch. Volunteers served food with smiles and kind words. To the right was a medical clinic where a doctor was examining a young Kasari child. Straight ahead were sleeping quarters with rows of clean beds. A human woman in her 50s approached them. Her name tag read Director Lisa Chen. She smiled when she saw Ben and Maya. Mr. Chen. And Maya. What a wonderful surprise. Are you here for a tour? Just visiting, Ben said. Maya wanted to see the place. Director Chen's expression softened. Of course. Please look around as much as you want. We're currently housing 23 children. Some short-term while we locate family. Some longer-term while we arrange permanent placements. As they walked through the facility, Maya saw children everywhere. A small Vorlex boy playing with blocks. 2 human sisters reading books together. A Threx child being fitted for new shoes by a volunteer. All of them safe. Federal cared for. Maya stopped walking suddenly. In a corner of the common room, a small child sat alone. She was a species Maya did not recognize, with pale green skin and large eyes. She looked to be about 6 years old. She sat with her knees pulled up to her chest, arms wrapped around them, trying to make herself small. Maya recognized that posture. That was how she used to sit. That was the body language of a child who had learned not to expect help, who had learned to be invisible. Without saying anything to Ben, Maya walked over to the child and sat down on the floor next to her. The child flinched slightly, but did not run. Hi, Maya said gently. My name is Maya. What's yours? The child looked at her with huge, scared eyes. Nala, she whispered. That's a pretty name. Are you okay, Nala? The child shook her head slowly. I'm scared.
I know, Maya said.
I was scared too when I first came to a place like this. But you're safe here. These people are good. They'll help you. Promise. Nala's voice was so small. I promise. You know how I know? Because I was like you once. I was alone and hungry and scared. And someone helped me. So now I help others. That's how it works. Maya stood up and held out her hand. Come on. Let's get you some food. You look hungry. They have really good sandwiches here. Nala hesitated, then took Maya's hand. Maya led her to the cafeteria and got her a plate of food, sat with her while she ate, talked to her about nothing important, just gentle conversation to help her feel less alone. Ben watched from across the room, his chest tight with emotion. His daughter, once so broken and lost, was now helping another lost child. The cycle continuing. Pain transforming into compassion. Director Chen stood beside him. She's remarkable, your daughter. She is, Ben agreed. She's been through hell and came out of it wanting to help others. I don't know how she does it. She learned from the best, Director Chen said, looking at Ben. You showed her what kindness looks like. Now she's passing it on. After an hour at Maya's haven, Ben and Maya headed home. Maya was quiet on the transport, looking out the window at the stars passing by. You okay, kiddo? Ben asked. Yeah, Maya said. I was just thinking about Nala, about all the kids like her. There's so many, aren't there? Even with all the new laws and help centers, there are still so many children who need help. There are, Ben admitted. The galaxy is a big place. We can't save everyone. But we can save some, Maya said. She looked at Ben with determination in her eyes. I want to do more, Papa. When I grow up, I want to help kids like me. Kids like Nala. Kids who everyone else ignores. What do you want to do? Ben asked. I want to be a doctor, Maya said. A doctor who helps children. Especially children that nobody else wants to help. The forgotten ones. Ben smiled. You'll be amazing at that. You think so? I know so. Years passed. Maya kept that promise to herself. She graduated from the Concordia Academy at the top of her class. Received scholarship offers from universities across the galaxy. She chose the Lyran Medical Institute, one of the most prestigious medical schools in known space. Medical school was brutal. 8 years of intense study, long hours, exhausting rotations. Maya worked harder than anyone in her class. While other students complained about the workload, Maya pushed through. She remembered why she was doing this, who she was doing it for. She specialized in pediatric medicine with a focus on trauma care, learned how to treat children who had been through terrible experiences, how to heal not just their bodies but their minds and spirits. After graduation, Maya could have taken a comfortable position at any major hospital. The offers came pouring in. High salaries, prestige, comfort. She turned them all down. Instead, Maya took a position with Galactic Doctors Without Borders, a volunteer organization that sent medical professionals to the poorest, most dangerous, most forgotten parts of the galaxy. Ben was worried when she told him, "It's dangerous work. Some of those places." "Maya, I don't want to lose you." "You won't lose me, Papa," Maya said. "But I have to do this. There are children out there suffering right now. Children like I was. I can help them. I have to help them." Ben understood. How could he not? She was doing exactly what he had taught her to do, seeing suffering and choosing to help instead of looking away. "I'm proud of you," he said, hugging her tight. So incredibly proud. Maya spent the next 15 years traveling across the galaxy. She set up mobile medical clinics in refugee camps, treated children in war zones, opened permanent clinics on forgotten colony worlds where no other doctors would go. She became known as the Doctor of the Forgotten. Children who had been abandoned or orphaned or lost knew that Dr. Maya Chen would help them, would see them, would care. She never charged for her services. Funding came from donations, grants, and her own speaking fees. Maya gave talks about her work, about the children she helped, and people donated generously. But she always told them the same thing. Don't just give money. Get involved. Volunteer. When you see someone who needs help, stop and help them. One person can make a difference. I know because one person made a difference for me. Ben watched his daughter's work from afar, following her travels on the news, reading her reports, talking to her on video calls whenever the connection was good enough. "I miss you, Papa," Maya would say during their calls, sometimes from a tent clinic on some remote world. "I miss you too, kiddo. But you're doing important work. I'm so proud of you. I learned from the best." "No," Ben would say. "You're better than me. You took what I gave you and multiplied it 1,000 times." When Ben was 65 years old, his health started failing. Heart problems, the doctors said. Years of hard work and stress had taken their toll. He needed surgery, but even with surgery, his prognosis was not great. Maya came home immediately, left her clinic in other hands, and traveled back to Nexus Station. Ben was in the hospital when she arrived. He looked older, thinner, tired, but he smiled when he saw her. "Hey, kiddo. You didn't have to come all this way." "Of course I did," Maya said, taking his hand. "You're my papa." The surgery went well, but recovery was slow. Ben spent weeks in the hospital, then months in rehabilitation. Maya stayed with him the whole time. She took a leave of absence from her work. Her place was with her father. During his recovery, they talked for hours. About memories. About her work. About his life. "Do you have any regrets?" Maya asked him one day. Ben thought about it.
No.
"Not really. I mean, I wish I'd saved more money. Traveled more. But the important stuff? No regrets. Not even finding me? Your life would have been easier if you just walked past like everyone else." Ben looked at her seriously. "Finding you was the best thing that ever happened to me. You gave my life purpose. Meaning. I was just going through the motions before you. Working. Existing. Not really living. You changed that." "I changed you." "You did. You made me better. Made me realize what actually matters in life." Ben squeezed her hand. "So no, kiddo. No regrets. Only gratitude." Ben lived for another 7 years. Long enough to see Maya open her 50th clinic. Long enough to meet her partner, a kind Lyran doctor named Varen who worked alongside her. Long enough to hold Maya's daughter, his granddaughter, a beautiful blue baby girl with her mother's eyes. Maya named her daughter Hope. Because that's what Papa gave me, she explained to Varen. Hope when I had none. Ben held little Hope in his arms, tears streaming down his face. She's perfect. Just like her grandfather, Maya said. When Ben died at 72, surrounded by Maya, Varen, and his 2 grandchildren, his last words were simple. I'm so proud of you, he whispered to Maya. So proud of the person you became. You made me who I am, Maya said through her tears. Everything good about me came from you. No, Ben said, his voice barely audible. I just saw you. Saw who you already were.
You did the rest.
You took that pain and turned it into purpose. That's all you, Maya. He closed his eyes, still smiling. And then he was gone. The funeral was held on Nexus Station. Thousands attended. People Ben had never met came to pay respects. Government officials. Medical professionals. Children he had helped through his advocacy work. But the most touching moment came from the children. Current residents of Maya's Haven, the help center built where Maya had once sat starving, came to the funeral as a group. 23 children of various species, all dressed in their best clothes. They sang a song, a simple melody about kindness and hope, about seeing people who needed help, about being like Ben. There was not a dry eye in the room. After the funeral, Maya stood at the window of her old apartment, holding her daughter Hope, looking out at the stars. Tell me about Grandpa, Hope said. She was 5 years old now, old enough to understand that her grandfather was gone. Your grandpa was the kindest man in the galaxy, Maya said. He taught me that one person can change the world. That you don't need to be powerful or rich or special. You just need to care. You just need to see people who are suffering and choose to help them. Did he really find you in an alley?
He did.
I was starving and alone, and everyone ignored me. But your grandpa stopped. He saw me. He helped me. He saved my life. And then you became a doctor. And then I became a doctor, Maya confirmed. Because I wanted to help other children the way Grandpa helped me.
Hope thought about this.
Can I be a doctor too? Maya smiled through her tears. You can be anything you want to be, sweetheart. As long as you remember what Grandpa taught us. What's that? That every person matters. Every child deserves to be seen. And when you see someone who needs help, you stop. You help them. Because that's what decent people do. I'll remember, Hope promised. And she did. As did her children after her. And their children after them. The legacy continued. Generation after generation. All because one human saw a hungry alien girl and decided she mattered. The galaxy never forgot Ben Chen. His story was taught in schools. His example inspired millions. The Ben Chen Award for Compassion became one of the most prestigious honors anyone could receive. But Ben would have said he did not deserve any of it. He would have said he just did what anyone should do. He saw a child who needed help. And he helped. That simple act changed the galaxy. Not through force or power or wealth, but through kindness. And that made all the difference.